put the pen on paper, right? It was a huge part of it. I would say is Toastmasters. Toastmasters really helped me in terms of confidence and learning how to structure my speeches and getting comfortable and confident networking with people as well. So Toastmasters is a huge part of my business journey.
Yeah, so anybody listening, it is, and I won't say it, I will mention it, but it's been a game changer for myself. And anyone you meet who's a Toastmaster will tell you it's been a game changer outside in the real world. This is like this beautiful practice place. But I just want to mention we had a bit of a tech issue and we weren't live streaming. We are live streaming now. But if you missed Angela's wonderful interview, really fascinating. You can catch up on the live stream catch up. The event will be going live and will be on YouTube and LinkedIn forever. So you can tune in and catch that little bit that you've missed. But Angela, I'm going to put you back into the green room and I'm going to call up our next guest, who is Tim. Hi, Tim. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, Olga.
Good to see you. You're very welcome. So Tim, again, has done amazing things. So when did you get your Distinguished Toastmaster? Is it this Toastmaster year, Tim?
No, it was February or so of last year. So I'm a relic from the past at this stage.
Wow. Yeah, you're quite a seasoned DTM. Now, Tim, Tim, some exciting stuff in Toastmasters. I'm going to give you a choice of what you'd like to talk about now, and you can talk about how the Distinguished Pathway may be helped. So I know that you formed a club, and I presume that was one piece of becoming a Distinguished Toastmaster, is forming a new club.
That's right. Yes. We'll see as we go through this session, I suppose, the different components. But one is helping in the formation of a new club in one way or another. And for me, it came about relatively unexpectedly. I'd taken on a small district role called area director and decided I'd better get to know something about the world beyond the club, because that's all I did know at the time. I saw somebody was wanting to start a club. They had the oomph. But I said, I'd be busy, but I'd like to play some small part. Well, famous last words. I said, I'll be secretary. That's a small job. What I didn't realize was that there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of procedure to starting a new Toastmasters club. So it was a great privilege, really, to learn what's involved in getting a new club entity up to scratch and up to the standards of Toastmasters. Not many people have the opportunity. I'm not saying I would do it again in a hurry, but it was a tremendous experience.
Yeah, I always look at that and go, oh my gosh, how did you get the people? You were one of the charter members. So how did you appeal to 20 people? Did you reach out to your network and then they reached out to more people? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Quite a lot of use of online media. It was an advanced online only club. So that meant two things. One, it was existing Toastmasters who wanted to stretch themselves that much further, were our main market. So untypical in that way of a club, where a community club where you'll be looking to pick up people who have never probably been members of Toastmasters. And then being online, of course, the world is your oyster, at least the English-speaking world. So we picked up members from the Americas, Middle East, briefly from the Antipodes, although the time difference there is a problem. The home countries, as we might call it, and a few Europeans.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember in COVID was the first opportunity we had to sort of meet Toastmasters from other jurisdictions. And it's a real eye-opener because I sometimes do things a bit differently, and it's a lovely meeting of cultures and different ideas. What the niche? It's wordsmiths online, so I presume it was appealing to people who are really good with words. Would that be right?
Or who want to be, or want to see it. I focus inevitably, of course, on the English language, because as English speakers, not many of us are multilingual, but in creative use of the English language. So we would place a good emphasis on ways of improving the use of language. For example, for a number of weeks, we did a series of little spots on rhetorical forms. Some of these wonderful fancy names that I won't attempt to pronounce without having reminded myself and what they represent. And of course, all of these would be things that we'd recognise when we'd hear an excellent speech, but wouldn't be able to put our finger on them. So we one of our other distinctives, where some clubs might have a joke master or a poet master, we have a creative corner where a member will bring typically some little bit of their own writing and read it out, or a poem.
That sounds brilliant. That sounds really, really good. But I have actually read a book called The Art of Rhetoric. And yeah, it was amazing. I just thought rhetoric included rhetorical question. Oh my God, there's a whole book on it.
So much
it's
more.
like alliteration, all that type of thing. So fascinating. So Tim, another big project you undertook, and was this your DTM project, the realignment?
It was. It
Okay.
was. And I had never, in truth, heard the word alignment in any particular technical Toastmasters context. And the interesting thing, perhaps, is that this was connected under the surface with chartering wordsmiths. Because when we were chartering wordsmiths, Elizabeth Jordan, who was district director at the time, put me in touch with an English Toastmaster who had chartered several clubs for general advice there. And that all went very well. But then in September, following, a few months later, I got a phone call from Elizabeth saying, "We've heard that you have the right sort of mindset to take on a job." Now, she didn't say it's a poisoned chalice. Some other people said that afterwards, but I had already agreed to it at that stage and learned something of what it was, at least in principle.
Yeah, it's funny for anybody listening. Realignment is like taking a country and just dividing it up and going, you're going there, you're going the other, and then just stepping back and going, I hope that's okay. But yes, it does cause a lot of controversy. But I imagine it was quite a learning experience for you.
Olga, you make me sound like a colonial invader. I wouldn't be comfortable with that, but we'll let that one pass and discuss it over a pint later, perhaps. Alignment in this context is something that's mandatory under Toastmasters International. Every year, a district, which let's, for the sake of simplicity, call that a national unit, a country, each district has to look at the administrative breakdown of their clubs and a couple of higher organizational units, which any large organization will need to be able to do the stuff they do. Our district is 4,000 or 5,000 members, a couple of hundred clubs. So you have to have some structure in which to give guidance and to organize inter-club activities, training, contests, and other things like that. They're called divisions and areas. And yeah, if you have too few units within the next one, or too many, you can't do the sort of things you want to do through your intermediate level leaders who have the job of motivating those in their care.
Yeah.
But of course, the great problem is we don't like change, do we? And change is intrinsic to rearranging things in a way which is better oiled. So
yeah, and
managing change was in one phrase was the key dynamic.
it's a huge one. And I know it's then presented at a special meeting, a business meeting of the Toastmasters. And there's always somebody in the audience goes, I didn't get the email. And then all hell breaks loose. But it is really important, as Tim explained, it is really important. It's not just us going, oh, let's try and change this around and see what happens if we put A with B. There's actually a logic behind it. And it makes sense. It helped our district a lot when we realigned under you, because we went from like 12 divisions to 9. And it made things a lot easier. But we have a question from our audience. Tim, you can help me answer it. It's from Sudha Singh. He would like to know how he can learn and grow with Toastmasters. So I was going to say, go online. You can Google it. Where find a Toastmaster club near me, and it will come up. And it'll, whatever jurisdiction you're in, you'll find those. It goes down to geographical areas. Tim hasn't realigned the world yet, and you'll find a particular Toastmaster club near you. Do you have anything else to add, Tim, for Sudha, or have I covered it?
Of course. Once you've found the club, if I could borrow a phrase or paraphrase something that a well-known Toastmasters in Ireland says, say yes to every opportunity. And if you join a club and haven't been a member before, Sudha, the first thing you'll do will be given the opportunity to give a little speech. In fact, probably the first thing you'll be you'll be given an opportunity to speak for a minute or two off the cuff. And the expectations are very much moderated there. It's a bit terrifying, but say yes. Get involved, giving speeches, get involved, making things happen. And you will grow.
Yeah, no.
You find other people asking you to take on things. I never looked for anything outside the club, but I wound up being invited.
Yeah, and it is amazing. You learn so much, Suda, and it comes out to your professional life, to your personal life. It's like a practice ground for life. So certainly do look it up and try and get involved. And it doesn't cost a lot at all. So fantastic. Tim, I'm going to send you to the green room, and I'm going to bring my third guest, Patricia Radley. So see you in a moment for the panel discussion. Hey, Patricia, how are you?
Hi, Olga. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, I'm fine. Well, how are you? You became, I think you're one of the most recent people to become the Distinguished Toastmaster of this group. Would I be right?
Yes, it was just into this current Toastmaster year, I think in July, when I finally signed off on the DTM. So it'll be coming up for a year next month.
I know. And I think it always remains this like big achievement, and it always will. It's one of those things I'm so glad one did it. I'm in the process of it, but you guys, I really
it's one of those dates that you'll keep in your head as a date in your life. Yeah.
Exactly. Really, really important. And I think from Tim's conversation and Andrew's getting the impression Toastmasters is really, it's not like a cult or just like a sewing ground. It really does help you. Life skills,
absolutely,
personal skills, professional. It's wonderful. So Patricia, would you like to talk about your DTM project? What was the project that you took on that was, had your mark on it?
So the project that I took on was, I was involved as a Pathways champion, and part of that was developing what we were calling the Pathways community of practice. So it was bringing together Toastmasters who were going to impart their knowledge of Pathways, the Toastmasters educational program, to other Toastmasters. It was for people of all levels of knowledge. So new Toastmasters who might have been preparing to give their first speech, their icebreaker, to seasoned Toastmasters who had been experienced in the old Pathways educational program and now needed to upskill into the new Pathways Toastmasters educational program, which was Pathways. And it was essentially a Pathways hub. So we had an email address where people would send queries. We ran educational sessions. And one aspect of it, which Elizabeth Jordan was instrumental because she was district director at the time, was setting up an opportunity for you to complete one level in a very, very short period of time. So we would meet with the Toastmasters that wanted to do this. We would facilitate sessions, provide the evaluations and give feedback. And that helped several Toastmasters escalate their Toastmasters experience and get them into Pathways. So once they were in and they had those first couple of speeches or level done, then they were on the road and it didn't seem so daunting for them. Yeah, so that was the Pathways community of practice, and it was a very enjoyable project.
Yeah, no, Patricia did an absolutely amazing job. I'd have these like, I don't know how to do this, and I'd ask Patricia straight back, brilliant, and you had a great way of explaining. But just to explain to our audience, if you're not familiar with Pathways, we have an educational program in Toastmasters. So it's done by, you heard Patricia mention levels. So level 1 would be introductory, and they're fairly accessible speeches. And then as you get further, there's more projects. So you might get a project to do a social media campaign, things that really take you out your comfort zone that you'll probably go, I can't do that. But then you do it and you go, oh my God, that's doable. So it's really, really well taught. It's taken many years to develop it. It's always evolving. And then Patricia is the expert. So any Toastmasters listening, she'll probably hate this. Patricia knows everything. Brilliant. So Patricia, last year, or you're still this year, you are the Division A director. Explain to us a little bit what the division director is, and a little bit about your experience of that role.
So first of all, you have your Toastmasters Club. So all clubs belong to an area and all areas belong to a division. So Division A covers Cork in the southern part of Ireland, and it goes in a little bit to Kerry, and we had one club from Limerick as well. So that's Division A. And my job as division director was to lead a group of 4 area directors, because we have 4 areas in Division A. And their role was to help clubs be the best that they could be. And they were to offer guidance and support to clubs. And my role was to offer guidance and support to the area directors, to look at how we could grow clubs in our area, how we can ensure that clubs reach their potential, and generally to see how we can move the area so that each year you would hope that the division would progress a little bit more each year, and that you would get to the end of the year and your clubs, that every club in the division would have achieved the best that they could achieve and that they wanted to achieve. And I think we've done that this year, which I'm delighted to say.
Well done. And it's great, this Patricia's talking about that sort of distinguished program, which means the clubs are recognized. And the reason we have that is because when people come in the door like a guest, it'll have certain things that are going on, and it'll look great and it'll be good, and there's quality, and everything that, you know, the Toastmasters have set out that they feel will benefit you are being done correctly. So well done, Patricia. What was your most favorite moment of being Division A director?
I loved, as Division A director, organizing the contest. So we have a contest around Easter time, maybe March, April time of the year. There's usually two, one in the winter and one in the spring. And the winter one this year was online. So that was, in a way, easier, I will say, to organize because it was all online. But the one in March was in person. So it was a challenge, but it was enjoyable to get everybody together and to stand in the room on the day of the contest and to see the members of the different clubs all coming together, being in that one room where some of us hadn't been in a room together since pre-COVID. And a lot of Toastmasters in that room had never been in the same room as a lot of those other people, because we hadn't really had that kind of division event as often since COVID. And just standing there and seeing everybody together, having fun and learning, and just that camaraderie between Toastmasters and people making new friends. For me, that was a highlight. Even though it was challenging, I could see the challenge as being a highlight as well, because I think it pushes you and it pushes the comfort zone, which is what Toastmasters is supposed to do.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, oh, you have to organize a contest. It's almost like a mini conference, and you're kind of going, oh my God, I can't do this. Why did I sign up? And then you do it. And as you say, it becomes the one that you look back on and go, you know, I'm really proud of that, because it was a challenge and there was opportunity in that. So Patricia, outside Toastmasters, how has Toastmasters helped you in the real world, whether it's professional life or in your personal life, in your goals, endeavors?
I think Toastmasters has helped hugely in my professional life. When I joined Toastmasters back in 2018, I needed to change where I worked. I wasn't happy where I was working and I wanted to move somewhere else, but my confidence had been eroded essentially. And I needed to build up my confidence, to put myself out there again into the workplace. And Toastmasters very quickly started giving me that confidence, and it has continued to do so. So now when I'm on a meeting at work and you look at the screen and there's 20 little mini screens and the meeting chair says, okay, we're going to do a round robin, everybody needs to introduce themselves. Before Toastmasters, I probably would have wanted to click the disconnect button and run away and hope nobody asked me. Whereas now, even something as simple as that, of saying, my name is Patricia, this is my role, this is why I'm here, isn't problematic. And I can see other people who perhaps haven't had the Toastmasters training absolutely nearly sick to their stomachs when they know that they're third next and they're trying to quickly think of something to say and hope that the camera moves away from them. So it's given me that. And even something like having to talk to managers, knocking on a manager's door and going in and saying, I need to talk to you about this, or this is my opinion on what we're doing. What do you think? Before Toastmasters, I'm not sure I would have had that confidence or as much. I would have thought about it too much, whereas now it's given me the platform to say, okay, this is my opinion. This is what I think we should do. And to go in there and put my point across. And I think Toastmasters, without that, I wouldn't be able to do that, or I probably wouldn't be in a role where I need to do that. Yeah,
no, it's amazing. It kind of like knocks that imposter syndrome off, out of the driving seat into the boot. So no, that's fantastic, Patricia. Highlight of Toastmasters, the biggest, best moment. Was it getting the DTM, or is there something that would align with that?
I think the DTM definitely, because I think I hadn't realised for a long while that I was working towards a DTM. It was never something that I didn't join Toastmasters and go, okay, I'm joining to get a DTM. You know, it's not like you go to college to get a degree. For many people, it's not the first thing that's in their head when they join Toastmasters. And then I woke up one day and I realized, okay, I'm halfway there. And it was just doing the other pieces which were challenging. For me, getting the 2 pathways, which is one of the requirements, wasn't a huge challenge because I did lots of speeches during COVID because I went to a lot of clubs online. So I enjoyed that piece. It was the other pieces I found challenging. So when you get that plaque and you get that piece of paper to say it's done, that is a huge achievement and a huge sense of, well, I have done it. Yeah. So I would love, but there have been many highlights and many top moments in my Toastmasters career to date, but I have to say it was getting the DTM, because I think once I knew I was on course for it, I wanted to get that really badly. And I think once I knew that's what I wanted, so to finally get it, then it was almost like it was a relief.
Yeah. No,
that again, it was a relief, and I have it now, and that's great. The studying is over. It's like when you finish an exam, you know, that's how it felt a little bit. But and again, you know, maybe towards the end, I felt I'm so close. I need to get there, and then you get there, and it's, yes, this is great. It's done.
Yeah, no, it is marvelous. Yeah. So Patricia, listen, thank you. I'm going to keep you on stage, and I'm going to bring Angela, and I'm going to bring Tim back. But just as we're getting ready to go into the panel discussion for our guests online, we all like end up, as Patricia says, just falling into doing that distinguished Toastmaster. There's one person I found pivotal who's on the call is Elizabeth Jordan. She said, you must do your DTM. And I go, no, I don't want to do that. But she was brilliant. She was instrumental. And it was great because those extra challenges that you didn't want to ever look at, you did. And as Patricia and Tim and Angela have said, these were the things that made them grow, that now their personal, their professional goals are realizable. There's no more Patricia hiding behind the screen. Angela's out there juggling businesses and books, and Tim's relining the district. So we're going to just, I'd encourage our guests, anybody online, if you have any questions for any of our panelists, please put them in the chat and we will ask the panelists. But to start us off, I have a question here. So this could be part of the DTM or just as Toastmaster. So I'm going to ask Angela first. What's something you now know that you wish you'd known from day one?
So will this be related to the DTM project, or?
Yeah, you can relate to the DTM project or just Toastmasters or life.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things I know now that I wish I knew earlier about the DTM project is I wouldn't have taken it as seriously. You know, towards the end, I suppose I took it seriously and got things done quicker. But knowing what I know now, if I had to do it again, I'll just keep having fun all along the way and wake up one morning. Like what happened before I went to do the big project was that I looked at all the things I've done and I saw that I'd done a lot already, and I just had a couple of more things to do and juggled it. So if I have to do something differently, say yes to everything that comes my way in Toastmasters, because part of those things are the way that you can achieve your DTM quite quickly. So say yes to everything and have fun along the way.
And Angela's so right. And there's so much support in Toastmasters. So if you say yes to something and then go, oh my God, why did I do that? You have people you can ring and go, I don't know why I did this. And they're saying, no, this is great. And it's as in breaking chunks off at a time, and it becomes totally doable. And you're so proud of yourself when you finish. Here, Linda has a question. Linda Devlin's on the call. What advice can you offer on starting a new club? So maybe Tim, you started that club. What advice would you give to Linda?
I think the best starting point is to make sure you have a modest number, say 3 at least, people who are committed to making it happen, and that their skills are complementary. We saw that, I think, in the beginning of Wordsmiths. With one person, Philip Campani, who was the visionary. He had the drive to see a club with a certain theme. I was able to bring the detailed stuff, the investigative. If there was a question of what we should be doing that had to be answered, I was comfortable doing the investigation. And then we had others who were good at finding people and encouraging them, the membership role. So I think Linda, if you don't have those in yourself, you definitely need a small number of people who will be able to bring that together. Obviously, you need other things as well, but that would be my baseline.
Yep, that's great advice, Tim. And Angela, I think you formed a club, didn't you? Was it on International Voices? Anything to add from maybe something different that Tim hasn't suggested there?
Yeah, one of the things I would have done differently, because it was a new challenge for me, was I went around and talked to a lot of people that would have built clubs and got a lot of ideas from them, and I suppose my PR skills too was great with that, in trying to get people. But one of the pitfalls I would say what people can encounter, and you should be very mindful of, is talking to people that do not really have interests, and are just coming to make up the numbers. Because what happens with those kind of people is you struggle to get them to commit. I would be happy to say yes, because I've paid my money, I've joined Toastmasters, I really want to work and learn and grow. So I'll be happy to take up roles. So you don't want people that you will struggle with to get them to take up roles. You want to be sure that they are really committed and interested in it, so you don't have problems in the long run.
Yeah, no, that's very important, because I think anyone starting a club is going to go, we need so many people, we need 20, and you're just kind of going, look up your membership, come, which Angela said is the wrong thing to do. So
Yes,
yeah, no, that's really useful advice. Patricia, I don't know if you formed a club as part of your DTM. Do you have any advice, even from, if you haven't, any advice from looking on to people who have formed clubs?
Yeah, I think what Angela says there is important, that I think you need to make sure that you have, and what Tim said, that you have a core group of people that are committed, and that the club can grow from that base. And I think resilience, and to keep going, maybe if you see things aren't moving as fast as you thought they might move, or something isn't going the way that you thought, keep at it, because it will, and it will come good. But some things just take a little bit longer than we might expect, or that we might want. I think sometimes we have ideas because we're really enthusiastic that something will happen quite quickly, and often in reality that isn't the way it is. And not to become disheartened, and just to stick with it, because I do think any clubs that I have seen that have been formed, they've taken time and they've taken dedication, and there are some blips along the way, but ultimately it will come good in the end, with the right people and the right skill set, as Tim said, that people that complement each other in the goal of setting up the club.
Yeah, that's right. Then persistence matters. So really good advice there, Linda, from the crew. We've another question from Camille Kornatowski. Okay, I'm going to ask Angela, now that you have your DTM, what's next?
Great question, actually. Well, what next? I like challenges. So I am working on getting the accredited speaker. So that's my next big project.
Explain. Can you give us maybe a couple of sentences about what accredited speaker is?
Another good question. So we don't have I think we have one or so in District 71. So that's a kind of qualification that qualifies you to be a speaker. And when people see that you're an accredited speaker, it kind of builds more confidence, and you get more people wanting to come to you, because that's proof that you'd have done all the projects. The projects are quite a bit of them. You have some voluntary speaker ones that speaker gigs that you would have done. You have to do some paid ones as well. And there are quite a lot of them. And when you do all the projects that are involved, you get the accredited speaker qualification. And that just says that you're an accredited speaker, you're good at what you do, and that gets people more attracted, or I suppose want to engage with you more when it comes to speaking engagements.
That's brilliant. I don't think a lot of people would know about that. So that's really interesting. So any of you ambitious DTMers, you can head off now to do your accredited speaker. Tim, what's next for you?
Well, I was mentioning that I'd done a couple of district roles, the area and the division director, and in the middle of that somewhere was the alignment. And all of those I enjoyed. Dare I say, on the record, all of them I would do again at the right time. But an opportunity came to get involved in the club officer training last year. There are about 1,400 club officers in the district, and part of the mandate is that the district will ensure that they're trained in their role, their specific role, and more broadly in how to be a good leader. And we took a new approach. A member of the leadership team who was responsible for that last year, as very creative, Steve Campion, in putting together an online approach which brought things together. So I had the opportunity to chair the team that was delivering that. And that is continuing on into the program year just about to start next week, with some additional features, new dimensions, and really looking forward to seeing how that takes shape. I have somebody else working with me as an assistant in that, and we are going to build further the team of people who put it together. We've a group of 50 or 60, which we can augment. The more people we have making it happen, the better the provision we can make in good training. So that's the coming year, as well as being club president and probably one or two other things on the side. But yeah, club officer training.
Yeah, no, and I have to add that Tim did an amazing job. It was a super initiative. As he said, it was spearheaded by Steve Campion. But you did an amazing job. You chaired that whole group. It was a huge group of people. There were massive sessions. So you did a really, really good job. So it's lovely that you're staying on to do that. Patricia, what's next now that you've reached that pinnacle of DTM?
Well, I think, Olga, after spending a couple of years working on the DTM and then this year being Division A Director, I want to challenge myself to go back to being a club member, go back to my club and give speeches, because I felt this year, because I wasn't able to attend my home club as often as I wanted to, because I had other things I needed to do as Division A Director, that I want to go back to my speeches and to challenge myself, because I have bought all the paths. So I'm working my way through the paths, and I bought the ones that were going to be discontinued for new members. I have those. So I want to make sure that I get all 11, the old Legacy 11 done. And one path I know I will struggle with is the engaging humor one, because I find I can be funny when I don't want to be funny, but when I need to be funny, I find that hard. So I want to challenge myself by doing that path. And I think now I have the time to do that. So I think that's a challenge that I want to set myself, is do something that makes me a little bit anxious and a little bit nervous. And that engaging humor path is that one. So I'm going to put it off no longer, and I'm going to start on that this Toastmasters year.
Well done, Patricia. Yes, there's a challenge to take on. I can feel your pain as regards humor. I think I'm hilariously funny, but I'm not. My husband says, am I cracking a smile? So the engaging humor does help. It gives you some tools. Now, an interesting question from Elizabeth Jordan. Do you have plans to do a second DTM? Angela, I imagine you're going, yes, I've done it.
Well, on the plan, no. But with the way I am going with carrying out my projects, I'm still interested in taking up roles in the club, at the district level, at the region level. I think that I'm going to have a second DTM without actually putting it in the plan to achieve one. So in answer to that question, will I plan? Do I have any plans to do a second DTM? No. But in the next couple of months, I know that with everything I'll have put together, I'll be qualified to have a second DTM. And I may just apply to get a second DTM since I've put in all the work. But there is no plan in place to get that.
Watch that space. She will have a second DTM and she'll be an accredited speaker. Tim, will you do a second DTM?
The first one came about without my looking for it. Right?
Yeah.
It was remarkable. I'd been overawed. I'm about 8 years a member, and I remember being overawed a year or two in when one member of the club, who had been an area director, the Greystones Club, got her DTM. It felt so impossibly distant. The stratosphere wasn't even close, and I gave no more thought to it. And then I laid into pathways. I had 2 paths done within 5 years. I did area direction. My predecessor said, "Did you ever think about DTM?" And I was probably halfway there. Perhaps the most difficult part was the involvement in starting a new club, and we've talked about that. And the funnest part, if I can use a half-coined word, was the dimension which is about helping an established club. No, excuse me. It's the dimension of helping a new club, but in a different way. A thing called speechcraft, and which I call a crash course in Toastmasters meetings for 4 to 8 weeks of meeting every week. And we had a most tremendous time. It's the last element. So how's that going to do with the next one? I think if I keep doing the things I enjoy doing, it'll probably be there. I'm nearly finished a third path. I have a second division role. So there are a few in the bank.
Yeah, no, I imagine everybody in this space now will be on their second DTM. And Patricia, since you're doing all the pathways, you have to do another DTM.
Again, it's not necessarily something that I have planned out in a logical, thought out manner. But again, I think the first half of the first one happened by chance. So I think, like the others, I look someday at what I've done and go, okay, I'm almost there. And I have only maybe 1 or 2 more things to do. So I think while it's not necessarily something I'm planning on doing now, I'll never say never. And again, it might just be something that happens. And it's almost like, if you have consistency in what you're doing, you'll eventually accrue up what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you'll wake up some morning and you'll go, okay, I actually am 60, 70% there, and there's only another small little bit to go. So maybe in a couple of years, but not right now. I'm just happy to have the first one and to enjoy a little bit of relaxation time from the DTM. But again, never say never. The door is always open.
Brilliant. Now I have a question for you, a question for myself, to each of you. So Angela, who would be the person that would maybe be that mentor or the person you found really supportive? Because Toastmasters has this mentoring system. It can be formalized or an informal arrangement. I know we get support from everybody, but is there a particular person maybe who stood out that said, you know what, this person really helped me?
Oh, yes. I have a couple of people that have helped me, but one person I would always I can't tell my story completely without having her name appear multiple times, is Elizabeth Jordan. She has been a strong support system from the start of my journey until now. She committed a lot of time into ensuring that I grow within Toastmasters.
Yeah, and Tim, who is your instrumental person?
I thought about that one. It's not easy. I haven't had any of what I would call strong mentoring relationships, but there were within different sections of the DTM journey. There were people who opened a door, pulled back a curtain, to take 2 metaphors, in ways that have materially developed my thinking. I've already alluded to, and without belaboring too much Elizabeth's role, it was people who opened doors for me to go through that are perhaps the most indispensable, most significant part. And I take my hat off unreservedly to Elizabeth for doing that. And alongside that, people who inspired confidence. If you have somebody who believes in you, that makes such a difference. Such a difference. Other dimensions, I'd have to say, I found so helpful in a couple of difficult situations. The district parliamentarian, Larry Lyons, who you interviewed 1 or 2 sessions ago. Again, drawing back a curtain on a way of thinking that I had barely scratched, and which hugely served the needs in a couple of difficult situations, one being in the alignment, managing less than fully happy people. So there are people who I would be very sad if they weren't still in my orbit.
Lovely. Thank you, Tim. And Patricia?
Yes, Olga, there was, again, it's like it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes many people to raise a Toastmaster or to get a DTM. And definitely those that were involved in the community of practice with me, because they were fellow Toastmasters that had knowledge of pathways, that were willing to share it, that you could pick up the phone or send an email and say, okay, we've had this question. I'm not quite sure of the answer. Can we bounce this off each other and see what answer we come up with and what the right direction to advise this person is? But like Angela and Tim, I definitely think Elizabeth has been fantastic. Elizabeth is always somebody that you can ask a question to. You know, you can say, can we have a Zoom call about this? Can we chat about this? Or a simple WhatsApp message. And I saw Elizabeth almost like an accountability buddy in some ways, because I didn't want to disappoint Elizabeth. Or I didn't want Elizabeth to feel, oh, she should have done that. And, you know, she didn't do it, because Elizabeth is great that when you do something, she'll text you and she'll say, well done. I was there. I saw that. You did that. Or you need to try this. And Elizabeth gives great feedback. Even with your speeches, if you give a speech, she gives a great evaluation and she'll always find something. And it's the same with projects that you do. Elizabeth will give you feedback and she'll tell you maybe where you could improve, or she'll set you a challenge. And challenges and stepping outside my comfort zone was something I feared at the start, not so much now. And I think that's because I've realized that there's always somebody there to support you and to guide you and to help you. So definitely Elizabeth, and to those that were involved with the community of practice, really, because that wouldn't have worked. And I wouldn't have had a DTM project if it wasn't for those that helped in that space.
I know, Elizabeth Jordan, she's amazing. She's on the call. I think, Elizabeth Jordan, I'm going to call you the new Ralph Smedley. She'll probably go, oh my God. This man who founded Toastmasters, but you would be his protege. You'd be saying, if you could create somebody in his image, it'd be Elizabeth Jordan. She's so cool. She's so helpful. And there's only 3 people on this call, but I imagine if you talk to many Toastmasters who are sort of movers and shakers, they're all going to mention that name, along with the others that have helped as well. So thank you, Elizabeth. Now I have a question for you, kind of a fun question. What is sort of that a disaster moment in Toastmasters for you? So Angela, did you have any kind of like, oh my God?
Oh yes, I remember. That's a very interesting one. I remember when I just joined, and the first meeting I was quiet, and when I went back home, I thought about it and I said to myself that no, you should step up. That's why you're here. So I joined. In the next meeting, they were looking for club officers, committee members for the next year. And I put my hand up for VPPR. And then I didn't know anything about branding. I didn't know anything about Canva. Like, I was completely clueless. But I thought I was going to learn. And when I eventually learned about branding, when I go back and look at those posters, sometimes I shiver, because my first couple of posters were very, very, very non-compliant. I had pink backgrounds, nice, very flowery posters, very girly, and I didn't have any clue about branding. So when I think about it, then at the first time when I came to the realization of branding and Toastmasters colors, of course, that was the moment I was like, whoops, what have I been doing? And no one called me to order. So yeah, that was a really big one for me, that I felt I had flopped big time.
I hear you on that, Angela. There is a branding group. It's a big WhatsApp group, and it's like the branding police. And people put in posters and they get pulled apart. They're very particular. But when you get into the vibe, because initially you go, oh my God, they're ruining everything. I can't have a cartoon figure. I can't use pink. But it is sensible. Now I think I've been institutionalized. I'm looking at the posters going, oh, that's not brand compliant. But it isn't a reason for it. But Angela, yes, that's a great moment for you, who are the PRM. That's a great moment. Tim, what's your oh my God, don't tell anybody moment about Toastmasters?
Oh, well, the moment I'm thinking of wasn't a don't tell anybody, because the half of the world felt like it was there. During the alignment process, one of the dimensions of change was, as I think you mentioned, we were reducing the number of divisions. In Ireland, it was coming down by 2. And one of those divisions was in Patricia's homeland, Division B, and it was going to be absorbed into 2 adjacent ones. Now, communication is one of our values. Communication sometimes is one of our failures. This was one of those occasions. One likes to think that the organizational network is a good means for communicating things I, as one person, couldn't communicate with all of the 20 or 25 clubs. So talk to the person here, who will talk to the 4 or 5 people here, who will talk to the 20 people there. And it didn't really work too well, but I only discovered how not well it was working when the division director, a great friend and fellow club member in Wordsmiths, said, "We have a lot of unhappy people here. I think you need to address the area and club officers." So no problem. Somebody suggested it'd be good to have a member of the district leadership team there for moral support. So that was arranged. Unfortunately, the person in question had to bail out at the last minute. So there was yours truly on the computer screen like this. Lots of little squares, none of them very happy, but I had to try and bring about agreement, achieving consensus. It was a challenge, but what I would say was the most wonderful part of that was that the division director said, "I've made clear," or words to this effect, "I've made clear my disagreement with what's going on. I think it's a bad idea. But having said that, I'm going to stand back and be neutral." And that was a lovely, lovely example of good conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
It was a horrific experience. The hour, whatever it was, I will not want ever to voluntarily go to a situation where I have to relive anything quite like that. But the most fabulous part, and if there was one thing I feel I can hold my head high and look the world in the eye about, is that we got consensus right the whole way through there. For a contentious issue, when it came to a vote by a group that would have been many hundreds strong, it didn't even need a vote. Passed by what a friend Larry would identify as unanimous consent. And that was a wonderful, thrilling achievement that came out of a mess.
Yeah, that whole realignment is like a scary place, as you named it, the poison chalice. So anyone on the call, you're that challenge. Realignment is waiting for you. But look, Tim pulled it back out of the bag and finished going, yes, it was a great moment. And Patricia, what was your oh my God, don't let anyone hear about this, let the world swallow me moment?
So it wasn't necessarily one specific moment, but when I first joined Toastmasters, that first day that I walked in, I loved it. I loved kind of the vibe of the people. I loved the idea of the speeches. But what I didn't love was the idea of the table topics and the impromptu speaking. That terrified me. And at that point, as a very, very new Toastmaster, I didn't see that as a challenge to overcome. I saw it as, how am I going to get out of this? So within about 3 meetings of joining, the Sergeant at Arms had to step aside due to personal circumstances. And they asked me, would I become Sergeant at Arms, because it was a great way to get to know people. So I said I would. So then I thought it would be clever if I think I've told the story to some Toastmasters before, if I didn't put my name on the list, because in my club, you hand the list to the topics master and they ask you a question, because I didn't want to be asked a question. So I wouldn't put my name on the attendance list. So for the first couple of meetings, nobody asked me anything because nobody really knew me. I was just the person taking the money at the back of the room. And then I suddenly thought, why are you doing this? You've joined to become a better speaker. You've joined to learn. And so what if you stand up and open your mouth when you're asked a question and go, I don't know about this, but I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to just talk to you about who won the soccer at the weekend. It doesn't matter once I'm speaking, but that was my whoops moment. And I look back on that and I'm actually embarrassed that I did that, because it was doing myself a disservice, but it was fear of putting myself out there. So I wanted to be in the meeting, but I didn't want to be in the meeting for the part that you get the most learning out of, almost the table topics. So yeah, that wasn't my best or brightest idea. But after about 4 meetings of doing that, I realized, no, Patricia, you've made a big mistake, and just stand up and face the fear and answer the table topic. And still not my favorite part of Toastmasters, but okay, I'm learning to embrace it more. And now I'm happy to answer questions as opposed to hide in the background.
I think it's genius, Patricia. I'm going to start doing that, because I've been in the club quite a while, but I'm not very good at topics. take my name off the list. Brilliant. But yes, you're right. You have to put yourself in the firing line because that's makes you who you are today. Now, and it's just a lovely comment from Elizabeth. Tim, you did an amazing job as the realignment chair, exemplary.
Thank you.
And he did a brilliant job as the club officer training. So yes, many accolades under your belt, Tim. So we're coming to the end. So I'm going to ask one question. You've got one sentence, starting with you, Angela. Why is the DTM journey worth it?
I think it's the feeling after it. For me, I felt more fulfilled. I think it gave me an opportunity to appreciate the journey, though. I think it helps in terms of confidence as well. More confidence when you're talking and all that. Yeah, I think it's important.
Brilliant. Tim, same question.
We talk about recognition, and it's held high. I have to say I feel just a little uncomfortable with that, but that's an emotional reaction. I know that I have a little thing over here with Distinguished Toastmaster plaque and one or two other things, and this is when I'm working from home. This is where I sit, and that catches my eye once in a while, and I think that's extraordinary. Those are things I spent X number of hours, a year, 2, 3, 4 years back. But I had the privilege of making a difference. I don't see it all. But that is what, Olga, that is what makes it worthwhile. It is an extraordinary privilege to have a door open, which not only you can go through, but a door opened into people's lives. We could expand on that. Yeah. And the sense that in some way I've been able to open a door for somebody else at club level, area, division, now district, that is thrilling. You'll never know it, but you know that it is. And that's fabulous. That makes it worthwhile.
That's brilliant, Jim. Lovely sentiment. And Patricia, one sentence for why the DTM journey is worth it. It can go to 2 sentences.
For me, it was the learning, the growth, and I would say self-awareness. It made me a lot more aware of me and what I am good at, where I need to ask for help. Whereas before I might have wanted to think, oh, I can try and do it all myself. I had to ask for help and ring people and go, help me out here. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. And that's quite humbling experience as well, that you can go to somebody and say, listen, I'm kind of stuck here, help me out. The growth. And I think the accomplishment, it is nice, as Tim said, to look at that plaque and go, I've achieved this, because it's like anything educational that you do, nobody can take it away from you. And you've achieved that, and that's yours for forever. So definitely it's worthwhile. It is challenging, but again, I've learned to embrace the challenge. So
no, that's brilliant, Patricia. Lovely way to end. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I apologize. I hope that we captured Angela's bit. If not, because you did a lovely bit at the start. If not, Angela, I might invite you back for episode 4 of the DTM. But she's so busy. She really, it's a special one to get here tonight. But we got a lot of you in our panel discussion. But you can join us next time. We have Rose Unplugged, which is our conference, which happened in May. We are talking with Eileen Hopkins is going to be leading, and she's going to be checking in with some of the conference crew about how it went. And it's quite cool because we have a non-Toastmaster. One of the guest speakers is actually coming on to the panel discussion and to be interviewed. So we're really extending our wings here on Toastmasters Unplugged. And then the end of July, we have an episode called She Speaks, which is all about women in Toastmasters, led by Lydia McDowell. And we will have some lovely women for her to dig down deep about their experience of Toastmasters and beyond. So I want to thank my guests, Angela Afiji, Tim Leach, and Patricia Radley. You've been wonderful. For our people joining online, Elizabeth Jordan, Camille, Suda, and Linda, and anybody else who weren't brave enough to put any questions to our audience. So I'm going to put the outro music on, and we'll see you on the 21st of July for Rose Unplugged.
Fabulous.